Today on Investigate TV Plus, cold cases once considered unsolvable are getting new answers thanks to cutting-edge technology. I'm Tisha Powell.
And I'm Lee Zurich. How law enforcement across the country are taking notice in hopes of catching criminals.
How many of those have ties to a crime?
Almost all of our cases have ties to a crime.
Plus, more women taking aim at gun ownership. What's behind the surge in sales? And we introduce you to the women leading by example when it comes to safety.
And when it comes to packing leftovers,
we have just come so far.
Her excitement can't be contained.
I still enjoy it so much.
In-depth stories that inform and inspire. You're watching Investigate TV Plus. Hundreds of people across the country, once known only as John and Jane Does, have their real names back thanks to forensic investigative genetic genealogy, or FIG. The technology is credited with identifying people, but the tool is becoming more pivotal in solving crimes.
Investigative reporter Kristen Crowley shows us how the tech closes cases that would have otherwise gone unsolved.
You watch the news every day and you think, oh, those poor people. And before you know it, it's you.
When Brett Snow disappeared in 2015, his mother, Lori Ryson, knew something horrible happened.
He had gotten himself into drugs, and so he was kind of staying wherever. And so that's kind of led to, yes, a lifestyle that wasn't a good one.
In 2016, investigators found a large amount of his blood inside a Spokane home and arrested 4 people for his murder.
The understanding is they hurt Brett over the fact that he owed $80. And they hurt him to an extent that he would have had to have gone to the hospital. They chose not to do that, so they just decided, I guess, to finish it.
All 4 were convicted by 2021, but investigators never found Brett's body. They had no idea that for years, Brett's remains were already in evidence at the medical examiner's office.
There were skull fragments found at various times, at various places, and we didn't know that they were the same person.
Medical examiner Veena Singh says the unidentified remains sat for years because Washington state labs don't have the ability to do DNA testing on bone. One lab that does have that ability is Othram, a facility in Texas that specializes in forensic investigative genetic genealogy, or FIG. Singh's office sent the fragments, and Othram determined they all belonged to the same person, Brett Snow. For the first time in 7 years, his family had remains to lay to rest.
That came as, quite a surprise. I mean, I wasn't expecting that. I mean, at this point it'd been, it was just this last year in April, so 7 years. I just really didn't feel like they were ever going to find anything.
FIG is known for identifying Jane and John Does, as well as unidentified human remains like Brett's. But the technology is going much further, something Spokane, Washington witnessed firsthand, because Brett's wasn't the only case investigators sent to Othram.
Their families were looking for them.
The Spokane Medical Examiner's Office got a $100,000 grant to access FIG through Othram Lab. It sent 23 cases of unidentified people, and by 2023, 9 of them were solved.
A lot of these cases that were solved in 2023, would they still be cold cases were it not for this genetic genealogy?
Oh, absolutely, yes.
But finding the identities of victims wasn't all Othram did.
Is this technology helping you catch killers?
It is, absolutely.
Sergeant Zach Stormont at the Spokane Police Department says thanks to the technology, it finally solved one of the oldest cases in Washington state, the 1959 rape and murder of 9-year-old Candy Rogers.
The identity of Candy Rogers was never in question.
No.
But the killer was.
Forever, for 62 and a half years.
All those years, Stormont said police had a suspect, but when they sent DNA from the case to Othram,
It was shocking that that person's not even part of the equation.
The person that ended up being the killer
Yeah.
was not a suspect at all.
Not in the case file.
John Ray Hoff was never on their radar, but there's no doubt he raped and murdered the little girl. Traditional DNA couldn't locate him because he died in 1970, and no DNA of his existed in any database. It was through genetic genealogy that Othram was able to track down living relatives and narrow the sample down to Hoff. The Spokane Sheriff's Department also solved a cold case murder with the technology. The 1978 rape and killing of 16-year-old Chrisanne Baxter. As in Candy Rogers' case, the suspect died before DNA databases existed. But the technology is solving more than just cases of the past.
They went from wanting to use this technology only for their cold cases and their intractable, impossible cases to wanting to use the technology for all their cases.
Kristen Middleman is the Chief Development Officer at Othram. She says in 2019, the lab solved 5 cases. In 2023, it announced it solved 144.
A lot of them are in the last few months of 2023. We're at a place where we're announcing 20, 30 cases a month right now, which is crazy.
How many of those have ties to a crime?
Almost all of our cases have ties to a crime.
Potentially bringing answers to dozens of cases, and answers, Lori Ryson says, is all any family can ever ask for.
Very hopeful for others, and if this type of thing happens to them, that there's that option of hopefully being able to solve and find their loved one.
The Spokane Medical Examiner says it still has 14 cases pending with Othram, and it expects to see answers to many of those this year. The ME's office also says it could not have utilized the technology without federal grant money. Each case costs up to $10,000 to test. Spokane officials hope their successes with FIG show how valuable this technology could be across the country and prompt more agencies to get financial help to use it.
There's work on Capitol Hill to expand access to this technology. The Carla Walker Act would allow law enforcement and medical examiners to apply for grant funding in an effort to make this cutting-edge DNA analysis more widely available. If passed, it would cost $80 million over 4 years. Our investigation continues in rural Missouri, where a family sought closure in a decades-long mystery.
What was your reaction when you got the DNA results back?
I was totally convinced that that was my uncle that they found.
Watch the full story on InvestigateTV.com. Just search DNA Detectives.
Still ahead on Investigate TV Plus, finding peace in the final farewell. More people are choosing to make their final plans earlier on.
We think that when the time comes, I'll deal with it then. And the truth is, you're so stressed, you're so scared.
How it's helping some families heal, and the simple ways you can guide your loved ones after you move on.
Plus, more women are taking charge of their safety by turning to the shooting range.
Women are realizing that they are their first line of defense for not only themselves, but their families.
How the firearms industry is meeting the demand of their new clients.
For many women, family is their top priority, and for some, that means owning and getting familiar with a gun.
We're living in a time where people are worried.
From 2005 to 2020, the NRA saw a 77% increase in women gun ownership.
Research from the Pew Research Center points to self-defense as the motivator for many women.
Reporter Holly Thompson takes us to a Nashville gun club that's struggling to keep up with demand.
And a nice, slow press of the trigger.
Can I go ahead?
Yeah.
It's a class for women.
That's mimicking recoil.
Taught by women.
Our pointer finger comes right underneath that trigger guard. Women are realizing that they are their first line of defense for not only themselves, but their families.
Colleen Gallagher and Greta Ireland started Nashville Women's Gun Club 8 years ago for women like Kim Neese.
Casual environment and no dumb questions. I feel completely comfortable being as good or as bad as anyone else here.
Niece is part of the growing number of women who own a gun.
You want to respect that it's a firearm.
And want to know how to use it.
This meaty part, get it higher on the pistol. There you go.
The latest National Gallup poll shows women's gun ownership has risen from 13% in 2007 to 22% of women in 2022. The Nashville Women's Gun Club saw that growth firsthand.
Like that. Do you feel a difference there?
Yeah.
Adding classes at Royal Range USA and capping the number of students per class. The students we spoke to all have a common motivation.
It's not the world that it once was. And so being able to protect myself and feel safe when I'm out and about, even in my own home, is so important to me.
We have the guns, but it doesn't help if you don't know how to work it. So that's why I'm here.
In an industry typically dominated by men,
Bring it back toward you just slightly. Good, right there.
these ladies say they're thankful for this platform that encourages women to train alongside other women
Okay, so that's how you line up the sights.
as they learn potential life-saving skills.
We're just all want to learn how to protect ourselves and be comfortable shooting a gun.
It's not just preparing for the worst, more women are taking an interest in shooting for sport. According to the NRA, in 2009, women accounted for 26% of all sport shooters. 13 years later, in 2022, that number rose to 32%.
Still ahead, a career that sealed the deal for this mother of 6.
Now that's 6 reasons getting out of the house one night a week was good for me, and most moms will understand that.
How her dedication to her company is truly unmatched.
Plus, you've probably heard of birth doulas, but what about a doula for the end of your life?
I work with people who are perfectly healthy and are young, but just want to start contemplating it now.
An in-depth look at an emerging field helping people plan their final chapters.
Benjamin Franklin once said, "Nothing is certain but death and taxes," two things that can be extremely uncomfortable to talk about.
A rapidly growing profession is working to make the discussion and reality of death a bit easier. They're called end-of-life doulas or death doulas. Between 2019 and 2023, the National End-of-Life Doula Alliance says it grew 300%, largely due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Like a birth doula supports a mom during pregnancy and childbirth, a death doula works to guide the dying and their families. We also found the service being utilized at an earlier age by people who want to make their arrangements now to allow their families to grieve in peace when they're gone.
This is my husband Enrique, our oldest daughter Erica.
Kelly Hurtado has no plans to slow down. She's a healthy 60-year-old grandmother of 4 who looks after her own 94-year-old mom.
I'm a serial volunteer, board member, community activist type person.
But this vibrant woman with a zest for life is also planning her death.
I've had some friends that I've mentioned this to that have said, "Why are you doing that now?" You're like, "You're so young, you're so healthy. Why do you need to do that now?" I'm like, "It's exactly why I need to do it now. While I'm healthy and young, so I can write down everything that all my wishes, so there is no question." This is my dad and me at my wedding.
She says her dad made plans for his passing, and she wants to do the same as a gift to her family. From where she wants to be when she dies, to who she wants to be there, to what music she wants playing before, during, and after her service.
A lot of heavy old school rock and roll, and some new wave, and a little bit of punk, but play that loud at the party. I've got it all set.
Thanks in part to end-of-life doula Robin Blanche, who has been helping with the details.
I work with people who are perfectly healthy and are young, but just want to start contemplating it now, because the truth is, the only guarantee we have is that we're going to die, all of us.
Robin was only 6 when her mom died by suicide.
It was so heartbreaking, and so I never got that closure. I don't have any mementos of her. I have this. Like, this is really all I have of my mother.
Robin, who's a writer by trade, is also trained to guide people through the obstacles of losing a loved one, or even face their own mortality.
We think that when the time comes, I'll deal with it then. And the truth is, you're so stressed, you're so scared.
And often forced to make important decisions in the moment, such as the details of a funeral or burial for yourself or a loved one. Robin says knowing who will be there to help is key.
Who is your village? You know, who are those people who will make your kids' lunches, who will walk your dogs, who know where your hide key is? And it feels morbid, but actually the relief that I see people feel when they know that it's handled is great.
My parents had always told me that they were going to have a plan and that they were going to have everything organized for me, but they really didn't.
Mona Sevilla sought Robin's guidance when her mother was dying.
So this was a really challenging, overwhelming time for you.
Absolutely. Yeah, especially being an only child.
Robin provided counseling and resources for Mona and her dad and recommended ways to honor her mother's life since she didn't want a funeral. One of them, this newly refurbished photo from 1968, is now a keepsake.
My dad was just overwhelmed by this picture, and he shows everybody when they come to his house. This is my wife, and isn't she beautiful? So it really did bring him some joy. And Robin did kind of spark that, because I didn't really know what I was supposed to do.
Robin calls herself an impartial observer who can lead the way during a time of confusion and overwhelming sorrow.
That's why I say, do the work now to prepare for the end now so you can be present at the end.
To say your final goodbyes to those you love, just as Kelly did when her dad took his last breath.
I just put my hand on him and I just said, "Thank you for saving me." That was the last thing I said to him was, "Thank you for saving me in every way."
Or be at peace with the life you're leaving behind, leaving nothing left undone.
He taught me how to go. He taught me how to go.
And that's what you want for yourself.
Yeah. I want to teach. I want to show my kids how to go.
Robin recommends having a plan for your pets when you pass away because rehoming them quickly, especially older animals, can be difficult. There are no local or federal authorities regulating, accrediting, or monitoring the work of end-of-life doulas. Although the National End-of-Life Doula Alliance and the International Association both offer training and certification programs. Death doulas aren't typically covered by insurance, and payment can range from free to more than $100 per hour based on individual needs. They do not provide medical care, but often work hand in hand with hospice or palliative care teams. To find a doula near you, head to the National Alliance's directory at nedalliance.org.
Still ahead,
I've always said work is the yeast that raises the dough.
meet the Tupperware Queen.
You get out of this what you put into it.
The hurdle she overcame on her path to becoming a successful saleswoman. Tupperware. It's a brand so popular you may use it to refer to any sealable food container. It's a staple in kitchens across the world with an idea that started in a garage. Ask this woman anything about Tupperware and she'll most likely know the answer. That's because she's been a salesperson for 63 years and counting.
Wow, reporter Jeff Alexander takes us to central Wisconsin to meet the Tupperware Queen.
Georgine Mulder has always maintained a simple philosophy when it comes to earning a living.
I've always said work is the yeast that raises the dough. You get out of this what you put into it.
And she still remembers the night back in 1960 that changed the course of her life.
I had 4 small children and I hosted a Tupperware party in my home. And I was very impressed with the Tupperware consultant and with the product. It was something brand new in our area. And I said to her, "Do you think I could do something like this?" She looked around and she said, "It looks to me like you have your plate full."
Let's just say that consultant's response didn't sit well with Georgine.
So I was a little irritated that she didn't think I could do this. So as persistent as I am, I wrote to the Tupperware address on the back of the catalog she left with me. They sent someone out to talk with me, and the rest is history.
Georgine's first order of business.
It's the very first catalog. These were the little dishes I showed you.
Learning all about Tupperware. Within 5 years, Georgine emerged as a Tupperware star, promoted to a manager and then director. At one time, she had 28 people on her team, one of the top 10 teams in the nation, earning her all kinds of awards and prizes.
Get this 500-foot roll of dollar bills. It was $1,000 stapled end to end.
Georgine also earned the privilege to drive 24 company cars over 48 years.
They did the tires, the insurance, all I did was the gas and oil. Yes, it was a real bonus.
Today at 87, Georgine's Tupperware tenure is unmatched.
I know there's been many in their 40 and 50 years of service, some even 55, but no one has surpassed 63 and a half like I have.
That's because Georgine says it allows her to do what she's always done, sell from the heart.
I still enjoy it so much. I love sharing with people. We have so much info to share on our products at the parties, how they can save time and money, space and waste, how they can stretch their food dollar. My children say, Mom, you're never home. When you live alone, what should you be home for?
That brought back some memories. As a kid, I loved a Tupperware party when my mom would take me because the snacks were everything.
I was saying the food. You wanted the food. Although you were eyeing some of that Tupperware, that story.
I know. I would like to have some retro Tupperware.
I like some of that. Some pretty cool stuff. All right.
Well, that's going to do it for us on Investigate TV Plus. I'm Tisha Pell.
And I'm Lee Zurich. Thanks for watching.
On the next Investigate TV Plus, train engines left running for hours, spewing fumes into the air.
So we can sometimes smell diesel inside this room.
We track complaints about idling trains and expose the lax regulations that critics say allow operators to hold off on solving the problem.